Okay, let's talk about something every single developer feels deep down. We're going to dive into the first chapter of a legendary book, Clean Code by Robert C. Martin. And the main idea right from page 1 is that this isn't just about code that runs. No, this is about being a professional. It's about craftsmanship, and honestly, it's about survival.
And I want you to really think about this. I mean, really think about it. You know that project, right? The one where changing a single line of code felt like you were trying to defuse a bomb, where it took days just to make sure you didn't break everything? Yeah. If you've been doing this for any amount of time, you know exactly what that feels like. Well, the book has this perfect word for that feeling: waiting. You're just slogging through this swamp of tangled logic and terrible variable names. And you might think, oh, it's just me, it's frustrating. But the book's core argument is that this feeling, it's actually a symptom of a much, much bigger problem. It's not just annoying, it has a real, measurable, and sometimes totally devastating cost to the business.
And when I say cost, I don't mean a few missed deadlines. No, we're talking about the complete and total failure of products, of teams, and yeah, even entire companies. This quote, it's from a pretty chilling story in the book. There was this company that had a fantastic app, huge success, but in the rush to get to market, they made an absolute mess of the code. So when they tried to add new features or fix bugs, every little change made the mess worse until the entire code base was basically a black hole, sucking in all their time and money. It literally killed the entire company.
And this graph, this just nails how that happens. It shows what happens to a team's productivity over time when they're working in a messy code base. And look, it's not a gentle slope downwards. It's an asymptotic curve straight towards zero. Every change breaks two other things. Every new feature is a house of cards, until the team is spending 100% of its time just fighting the mess instead of actually building anything useful. So what's the classic response when productivity just tanks like this? Well, management throws more people at the problem, right? But these new folks, they have no idea what the original design was supposed to be, and they're under pressure to just get stuff done. So what do? They make the mess even worse, which just pushes that productivity curve even faster towards zero. It's a total death spiral.
So this leads us to the fundamental conflict that every single developer lives with. The book calls it the primal conundrum. It's that constant battle between the pressure to go fast and the need to do it right.
We've all heard it. And let's be honest, we've probably all said it. Look, I don't have time to make it clean. I just have to get it working for the deadline. That's the pressure talking. But the professional truth, the thing we learn over and over again from failed projects, is that this is just a flat-out lie. Making a mess is never fast. In fact, making a mess is the surest way to slow yourself down and blow right past that deadline you were so worried about. And this right here is the book's central point. It's an absolute. The only way to actually go fast, the only way to consistently hit your deadlines, is to keep your code clean. All the time. Going fast is keeping it clean. Which means, as a professional, it is your job, your responsibility, to defend the quality of the code just as fiercely as your manager defends the schedule.
All right, so we know why we need clean code. It's about survival. But what even is it? To figure that out, the book brings in some absolute giants of the software world.
And we're going to start with a big one. Bjarne Stroustrup, the guy who literally invented C++. You got to figure he has some opinions on what good code looks like. And he does. I love the words he uses here: elegant and efficient. For him, clean code has a beauty to it, but it's also just brutally practical. It's not wasteful. It's got solid error handling. And most importantly, it's focused. Every function, every class, every little module has one single job, and it does that one job perfectly. Okay, next up is Grady Booch, one of the original pioneers of object-oriented design. And he comes at it from a completely different angle: readability. This is such a powerful metaphor. Think about it. When you read a good book, you're not trying to decipher it, right? You just read it. The story just unfolds in your mind. And that's his standard for code. The intent should be so obvious that it just tells you its story. You shouldn't have to put on a detective hat to figure out what it's trying to do.
All right, our next expert is Michael Feathers, a guy who knows more than almost anyone about the exact opposite of clean code. He brings this really simple but profound, almost emotional quality to the definition.
And man, this just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Care, craftsmanship, pride in your work. You can just feel it when you're reading the code. It's the difference between just throwing parts together and actually building something with intent. So you've got elegance from Stroustrup, clarity from Booch and care from Feathers, that's the whole package.
So now that we have a feel for what clean code actually is, the book gives us one last super practical rule. This is how you actually do it, how you maintain a clean system for its entire life.
But before we get to the rule itself, you have to understand the why behind it. And it all boils down to this one incredible number, 10 to 1. That is the ratio of time we spend reading code versus writing new code. Just let that sink in. For every 1 minute you spend typing, you and your team are going to spend 10 minutes trying to understand what the heck is going on. So if you want to make your team faster, the single best thing you can do is make the code easier to read. And this is how we do it. It's so simple, but it is so powerful. It's the Boy Scout rule. All it means is this: leave the code a little bit cleaner than you found it. That's it. Because if every developer on the team does that every single time they touch a file, the system has no choice but to get better and better over time. It is the ultimate defense against code rot.
And look, this is not about some massive, scary refactoring project. It's about tiny, continuous improvements. Every time you're in the code, just do one small thing. Rename a variable that has a confusing name. Break up one function that's gotten a little too long. Find one little piece of duplication and get rid of it. These tiny little acts of professional care, when you add them all up, are what separate real software craftsmen from people who just type for a living.
And that brings us to the final, most important question. This isn't just some nice-to-have, feel-good idea. According to the philosophy of clean code, being able to answer yes to this question every single day, well, that's your fundamental responsibility as a professional. It's the one thing that stops that productivity death spiral and keeps our projects and our careers from crashing and burning.